I'm revealing. Okay, so I'm wading into a few pages in.
Okay.
And so what you need to know is we have 12-year-old Luann, who wandered away from an accident that killed her father and twin brother. And as she mourns, she's taken solace in reading, particularly her latest passion, Gothic novels. And she likes to take them to the site of a burned out church and rectory where there's this odd stone building that she refers to as her manse. It's sort of a Gothic clubhouse. Inside, she found a novel, The Governess of Bethel, Abbey. So what I'm reading is Luann, and then the section she's reading from that novel at this time. At the stone house, Luann heard squeals of laughter coming from the field. When she investigated, she saw heads popping up and down in the brush. Her heart sank. A bunch of children had discovered her sanctuary and turned it into a playground. As she drew closer, the figures ducked into the shadows and fell silent. Inside, she found another girl seated at the makeshift table. A lovely china tea set was laid out. The stranger had filled 2 cups with tea. "You found my book," the child said. "It's okay. I finished it. I'm Catherine." Disappointed yet intrigued, Luann introduced herself. Catherine beckoned her to sit and pushed a cup towards her. "I come here to write," the girl said. "I'm turning this book into a play. My brother Henry followed me here with his friends. They're noisy, but they'll help act it out when I'm done." "I love this story," said Luann, sipping her tea. "I can't wait to finish it. It would make a fantastic play. Do you need help?" She ducked her head and shyly suggested, "Maybe I could play the governess. I'm a Miss Sedgwick too, you know." Catherine beamed. "That's wonderful. Then I'll only need a brother Jacob. You don't have a brother, do you?" "My brother Jack likes scary stories just like me. I mean, he used to." Luann's eyes filled with tears. "He was killed in a crash last spring." "I'm sorry. He was much too young. But now he sleeps the sleep of peace. Isn't that what the priest says?" Catherine reached across the table and clasped her new friend's hand. Luann thought, "I'm going to start bawling." But the touch of Catherine's fingers was so icy, any tears she had dried up before they could spill. "Jack would have been wonderful as the master," Luann said. Catherine's eyes widened with dread. She shook her head and glanced over her shoulder as if fearful they'd be overheard. She whispered, "No one can play the master." This afternoon, Kitty and Hagen took to their beds. I walked the grounds to clear my head. Mrs. Ulner told me she was impressed with all the children had learned in 2 short weeks, but I can only recall bits and pieces of those lessons, like tattered remnants of dreams. I don't remember tucking them in or visiting their bedchambers at all. What was wrong with me? I decided to visit the ancient Abbey ruins and the little stone chapel on the other side of the gardens. The steeple had toppled and lay alongside the blackened stone walls. Casualties of a lightning strike, I was told. Despite the fire, the stained glass windows were still intact. The sun's rays streamed through, apart in the gray clouds, and I was seized with a desire to see the Bible scenes illuminated. I went inside and found the wooden pews burned away, but overhead, the scenes of heaven, hell, and the miracle of Lazarus blazed with light and color. A sonorous voice said, "How curious. You chose to explore this dead place instead of the green fields that surround us." I shrieked and fell back against the wall. A long, slender hand stretched out and clasped mine, pulling me forward until I was nearly chest to chest with the stranger. His face was sallow, but that complexion only served to heighten the intensity of his dark eyes. My heart pounded and my breath stopped in my throat. "Mr. Phalange tells me you're doing an excellent job so far, Miss Sedgwick." I recovered enough to step back and replied, "Mr. Toombs, thank you. I'm so pleased to meet you at last. Let's continue your walk. I know you've recovered from your bout with cholera, but I think we need to put those roses back in your cheeks." I could feel my face flushing. I tried to pull my hand away, but the master would not relinquish it. He continued, "Please permit me to accompany you, and since you are so fascinated by this dead place, allow me to show you the family crypt." Mother had warned me about employers who placed young women in compromising positions. My heart pulsed with fearful anticipation, but my feet seemed to float off the floor. Together we sailed down a narrow staircase to meet the master's dead ancestors. It occurred to me that I would be disappointed if he did not try to kiss me down there in the dark. The crypt smelled faintly of smoke and mold. Mr. Toombs released my hand, lit a candle, and guided me past the stone niches where the dead slumbered. He droned on about his family history. I wandered down an aisle flanked by stone sarcophagi, my attention drifting. Suddenly there was silence. I turned to find the master grinning at me. "Dull as tombs, isn't it?" he said. He snatched my hand up again and twirled me around in a dance, faster and faster, until I was breathless and dizzy. Someone was laughing hysterically. It was me. "I need to stop," I gasped. He lifted me by my waist and sat me on one of the stone coffins. The dim chamber spun around me and I fell back. The master's face loomed above mine. "You look like an effigy," he said, laughing. Seized with a spasm of fear, I sat up, pushed him away, and staggered towards the stairs. I struggled to draw the fetid air into my lungs as I escaped the crypt. "Miss Sedgwick, I'm so sorry. I was wrong to frighten you," Mr. Toombs said as he followed me to the open field. In the light of day, I could see how tall and thin he was, how his coat flapped loosely around his frame. He kept apologizing, but his voice faded, as if the man himself was floating away. The next thing I knew, I was seated in the breakfast room, morning sun streaming through the windows. The master sat across from me. "Did you sleep well?" he asked. "How did I get here?" I cried. "I presume you awakened, dressed, and walked downstairs. What happened yesterday? I remember the church, then nothing after." Mrs. Allner entered, setting tea on the table. "If I may, Mr. Toombs, Miss Sedgwick is a marvel with the children, but she is quite forgetful."
Wow. Thank you so much.